And welcome back. It's time for our Capitol Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. And Pat, there's obviously been quite a bit of talk about Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, his recall election, the fact that he did prevail this past week. But broadly, why is this important, or is it important for the nation?
I think it is. I think it's important for Oklahoma. And you know how in our business, when we're in the news cycles, we can over-obsess maybe, overly focus on whatever the big news of the week or the month is. In this case, I think it's a big deal. And there's a lot of reasons I think that. Mark Costello, who is our Secretary of Labor, our Commissioner of Labor, I should say, called it the most significant non-presidential election so far in this century. Yeah. Now, that's pretty dramatic statement, but stop and think. This is the first American governor to be recalled, to survive a recall. At least in the early stages, his opponents heavily outspent his supporters. By the end, it flipped. Yeah. It flipped because the money flowed in from all over the country. Voters, even in Wisconsin, a blue state, seem ready to address issues of the sustainability of benefits, the sustainability of pension programs, and the role of public sector, public employee unions. And add to this, earlier this year, right to work prevailed as a statutory measure in the state of Indiana. So two big blows to the unions. Boldness was rewarded in the end. That doesn't always happen. This was a very polarized electorate, and yet in the end, the very provocative kinds of things Scott Walker was willing to do and that he undertook to do were ratified by the voters. He was actually slightly stronger in an election with slightly higher turnout. He had a bit more of a margin over his opponent, Mr. Barrett, the mayor of Milwaukee. Implications, Walker and Obama. Stop and think about this. The exit polls proved to be a little bit off, but only a little bit. Early in the night, it looked like they were way off, but they were actually about 3 or 4 points removed from the final results, which would give you a hint that Wisconsin is closer than it was in 2008 in the presidential election for the president. The president was shown with a comfortable margin. If you cut up about 3 points off of that, he's still ahead against Mr. Romney in the same exit polls is what I'm driving at. So that's an interesting implication of this. I wouldn't say it's necessarily in play. I would say maybe the state is purple instead of blue. The final thing is if boldness was rewarded, you kind of wonder some of the things that weren't done in the Oklahoma legislative session, if they can be done in Wisconsin, can they be done in the reddest of the red states? We'll see. 34%, this is something I don't think anybody really wants, but maybe it's inevitable in the modern age. 34%, according to the Marquette poll, of people in Wisconsin stopped talking to someone during the course of this recall campaign over the last few months. That's how polarized the state got. 1/3. And if you can imagine playing that out in our daily lives with people we disagree with on politics, but like personally, and you stop talking to them because of a disagreement, that might not be a place we want to go in Oklahoma, but there it is. That's the evidence from Wisconsin.
You wrote a piece for CapitolBeatOK.com about Oklahoma being one of the top 10 religious states in the country. I don't think that's a big surprise to those of us who live here. But if you look at this list and this national study, what's your prediction on how much of a role religion will play this fall?
I think religion is important in the lives of Oklahomans, whether you're Kathy McCallie at the Church of the Open Arms with her congregation, or Paul Blair at Fairview Baptist in Edmond. Religion animates people in Oklahoma and in a lot of places. It's the reason we get up in the morning, our beliefs about how we ought to treat each other, and our core beliefs about the way government and other things ought to be structured. That doesn't necessarily resolve public policy problems. Public policy issues get resolved in legislative bodies and by executives and in the courts. So what I would say is belief is the reason we get up in the morning, and the question is, what do you do with the rest of the day? You don't necessarily leave your beliefs at the door, but when you enter the market, the public square, there needs to be dialogue and discussion, and sometimes even that dirty word, compromise. So what I would say is absolutely religion's going to play an important role, as it always has in Oklahoma, going forward, including in the politics of the year 2012 and the debates between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, and on down the line, it will have an effect. I don't know that it will have as dramatic effect as some people might think, but it's the reason we get involved.
Yeah. All right, Pat, you can read more about these and other topics at CapitolBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a great Saturday.